We're going to go to our next pitch presenter, David Ripley, and he's here. Come on over, and he also has a great idea. So.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Ripley. I am currently a junior here at KSU as a computer science major, and I'm one of the lucky few who was chosen to give a small presentation on my proposal. So, tell me, who has placed a bet before? It doesn't have to be for financial, it could just be a bet between friends, family, coworkers. All right, pretty much all of you, because we are human beings, we love competing, whether it's all the way from the casual, all the way to competitive. So, sports gambling. This is something that has been growing dramatically over the past few years. It is a growing industry that is targeting our youngest generation. Almost half of the users of these sports gambling apps are under the age of 35, with 1 in 10 being under 25 years old. This, to me, is a problem because sports gambling is still, in a sense, gambling, and it can create very bad habits, especially in those who are younger. It's been shown that just gambling once or twice a month can result in thousands upon thousands of dollars just down the drain, and most of the time you don't even realize that this is happening. So that's where I introduce sports savings. Here's a little diagram of how the core of the app works. So how it works is very simple. It is very close to just a reskinning of a sports gambling app. I'm sure you've all seen these sports gambling apps one form and another. What my proposal is that instead of actually gambling away your money through sports bets and parlays, instead it gets saved or invested through behalf of our company. And how you can kind of see how the flow works. So for here in this example, we've got a $10 parlay. This is then split up into 2 paths. One is the small fee that we collect to run our services. The other part is then sent into either a savings or investing account, which can be chosen when you're creating your own account for this app. And then, instead of money, you're given an in-app currency instead to place your bets with. Now, this number. Does anyone know what this number might be? No? That is because this is the amount of money the average US household loses to sports betting in a year. A lot more than I initially thought, too. It's actually $1,000, most Americans can't pay for a $1,000 emergency expense. So if they had never even sports gambled, they would actually have what would be needed to save and pay for those things. So you might be asking, why does this work? Why would someone come to our app to do this? I think for a few reasons. First and foremost, you can't discount the amount of people who sports gamble, not because they actually want to gamble, but because they want the social experience of it. I mean, you've seen the ads, you've seen the sports groups where you're with your friends, you're watching the game, and one of your friends starts betting, and that can easily spread to the whole group suddenly is now putting $10, $5, $15 down on a parlay that is ultimately doomed to begin with. I will come in with this app that you can still maintain that social experience. You can still have your friends put that money down, still feel that tense feeling of, am I going to win or am I going to lose? But you still maintain most of that money that you can use then later for other things. This is important because other sports gambling apps exist that don't use money. That is not what I am trying to solve. I'm trying to solve that people want to have that feeling in their chest when they put down a bet that they don't know if they're going to win or lose. By tying that to the in-app currency with real money, you still mimic that feeling of uneasiness as you're watching the game, that tension as you see Are they going to hit that touchdown this round or not? As part of this, I also want to teach some of the basics of how this works, because my average demographic is very likely to be not very informed about this. So I am going to gamify it in a very light but simple way of achievements and little pop-ups that appear. Because as part of using a in-app currency, I plan to create sets of leaderboards, certain competitions in the app that will engage our users to actually not just sports, but to actually be smart about it. You know, some of these achievements could be reach $1,000 in savings, or it could be the top 100 people to have 5 accurate bets back-to-back. These types of gamifications encourage our user base to interact with our app, but then to engage with the premise of our app as well. Alongside this, we will be engaging in, little tips, pop-ups. These are not meant to be like in your face. Again, the core of this app is not to teach financial literacy, but to give a tool for those who don't have it to not mess up their future 5, 10, 15 years down the line. $20,000. This is an example I generated where if someone were to do $20 a month through our sports betting app, by the end of 20 years, they would have $20,000 saved in their account. Furthermore, by the time they reach retirement, that would be almost $54,000. Now, I don't know about me, but an extra $50,000 during my retirement, that can be a very handy tool to keep myself safe, even in uncertain times. So, all this talk about app is useless if I can't get any users to engage with my app. So I have a 3-pronged approach to gaining new users. First, it's important to target areas that are going to have high-density people who engage with sports betting. And that's where colleges are a very prime demographic of that, which is where I will target first, especially in the local areas like KSU, as that is where I'm from. From there, we can spread to other areas that have high density, like sports bars and those kinds of places that sports people gather. Secondly, influencer advertising. This is a product targeted at young people. It has been shown more and more that young people gravitate towards influencers when making their own decisions for what to buy, what to invest, what to do with their day-to-day. I think this is a critical point to use influencers to show the users why this is a good app to use and why they should switch to this over DraftKings and other sports gambling apps. And then finally, you gotta have a little carrot on the stick to entice users. And that's where the final step is. With the in-app currencies, what I plan to do is have small competitions that are very small in terms of cash prize, but they are to entice people to be like, hey, whoever makes the most with smart sports bets using our fake currency, we'll give them a small bonus that gets added to their savings or investments accounts. Nothing too major, but putting a small carrot that, hey, you can actually make a little money if you're actually sports betting smart and you win tons of bets using our fake currency, which I think can dramatically increase the amount of people. Again, not just to encourage users to come, but to actually engage them with our app. But of course, again, you have users, but an app needs money to run. It's very important. Money runs the world. And that's where we have 2 initial steps that will come in to initially finance. And as we grow and as we develop into our app, we can explore further avenues if we need to. Primarily, we will be doing it based off a small fee that you pay every time you would make a bet. It's just skimmed off where most of the money would go into savings. We take a small section to help finance things. Furthermore, as this is an app that will be storing money in savings and investments accounts, there's also the potential of being able to take a small net interest of all of the money that's currently being saved in this app. And as you can see on here, some further ventures I have mentioned is that if those end up not being enough of a revenue source, we've thought about potential of offering ad space or even a subscription-based service where every month you get a set amount of the fake currency that you can use to bet as a way to encourage users. So, this is my good friend, Devin. I love Devin. He's a good friend. In the past 2 years, he's spent about $250 through sports betting apps. That is a pretty large amount, especially as he's a college student. It is my hope that with an app like this, all parties can win. The user can win by still enjoying the fun and engaging activities of betting with their friends, while still keeping most of the money that they spent. And we are able to run a successful company that's helping protect our next generation's future. Any questions about, any questions? All right, no questions? Well, if you have any further questions. Oh.
People absorb some of your stuff.
Good. Hey, how you doing? Thanks. Good presentation. I had a comment and a question. So I think the comment is, since you're starting out, having users pay a fee will block them from wanting to join your platform. So I would encourage other creative revenue streams, because otherwise you won't have the user base. If you don't have the user base, no one else will give you revenue for it. So that's just one suggestion. The question I had was, how does, where did the idea come from, and how would the experience work for a user? Let's say they go on the app, and then what happens that turns into savings? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. Kind of talk about your first point.
Yeah.
The app will have a kind of not a free-to-play user, but when you create your first account, you are given some free additional in-app currency just to kind of like learn how the app works without actually committing any money to it yet. But then to answer your second question, how I imagine, I've seen the statistics about sports gambling. Like I've shown graphs. In the past 5 to 6 years, it's gone from barely $1 billion industry to $10 billion industry, and this has come off the back of many Americans who don't even realize the potential that they're throwing away with the money that they're putting into these apps. But furthermore, I've had a disdain for a lot of these companies because of some of their more shadier ways they handle managing their app. Like a prime example is many people will credit sports betting as a skillful activity. But these apps hide the fact that if you actually are knowledgeable and can make bets that you will win more consistently, they will shadow ban your app, shadow ban yourself, and then you will just, at most, maybe people do like $5 to $6 bets. Because they're counting on people just to not realize how many levels they've taken to abstract your ability to accurately make bets. And then going into the user experience of the app, my app, Sports Savings, it is going to look very similar to DraftKings. It's very similar UI layout to it. You will open you open the app. You'll be prompted with some question about like what kind of sports are you interested in. Maybe some questions about like how much you might on average spend on a sports betting apps. Yeah. And through those questions, it will generate a front page of like specific sports events that they would be interested in. Also, there could potentially be a small bar to keep track of how much money you've put into the app for betting, and even a kind of indicator showing how much money you have saved. And then the final part of your question, how does that, like, they see the money? So on the app, there will be a section dedicated to like the money held in the account. And there will also be a small set of questions because if you truly want to, you can just do savings and that's it. But I also intend to offer a few options for like index funds and other more safer but steadily growing source of investments.
Nice.
We have
Thank
time
you.
for just one last question. Any takers?
Hey, great concept. I really like the idea of turning a bad financial habit into a good one. Lots of the credit card industry already works like this by offering cash back. So I understand the appeal of saying, hey, you're going to save money, and that's the first point. Would it be valuable, or wouldn't it be more interesting to make it a reward program for betting? Like we have a lot of credit card already doing this for various incentives, instead of trying to tell people, I'm also going to educate you, I'm also going to create the savings.
Could you repeat your question? I can't quite hear you.
Sorry. Don't you think it would be interesting to see how to create a reward program for betting that creates savings, instead of saying this is a saving program that allows you to bet, which is how I understand it? Great
question. Really good one. I did also think about this myself. Part of the problem that you run into that is, first off, it's hard to compete trying to be the better man, because these sports betting apps, they make a lot of money, and trying to do that ethically will mean you're working with a much smaller flow of cash than they are, and ultimately still in a form still betting like that, and it's just hard to compete like that, where you might argue that my app is not really any different. It's still directly competing with them, but I am approaching it more of the angle as like a non-profit, as a more of a, Alcoholics Anonymous, kind of like a way of helping people who kind of realize they might not want to do this to ease off of it without just trying to replace the sports betting apps themselves. Because I honestly do believe that like DraftKings, they're not going anywhere. They are very deeply rooted into the sports scene now, especially over these past few years. I mean, you can't even watch a game without like at least 10 to 12 of their ads playing, their logo slapped all across the stadium. You're kind of fighting a very uphill battle when you're dealing with that.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Any questions? You can email me at my school email. Thank you.